The story of Adam and Eve, our progenitors, is narrated in the Old Testament. They dwelled in a state of complete innocence in a heavenly abode until the serpent, identified as the devil, lured them into consuming the prohibited fruit from the tree of knowledge. As a consequence of their defiance, God expelled them from paradise. The name Adam has a dual meaning in the Bible. On one hand, it is the personal name of the first human, and on the other hand, it is used to refer to all of humanity. The name was given to Adam and Eve by God himself. The Hebrew root of Adam is connected to the color red, which may refer to the red soil from which Adam was created. The Bible makes a clear connection between Adam and the ground, as he was formed from the dust of the earth. The Hebrew word for ground is similar to the sound to Adam, creating a wordplay that emphasizes this connection. It is important to note that Adam represents all of humanity and is not associated with any particular nationality or region. According to rabbinic tradition, the dust used to create Adam came from all over the earth, so that no one could claim superiority based on their place of origin. The term formed indicates a deliberate and skillful act, akin to a potter crafting a beautiful artwork. God breathed the breath of life into the clay vessel, which highlights the unique intimacy between God and humankind, unlike animals. At this creation, Adam was made slightly lower than angels or God and adorned with glory and honor. According to the rabbis, Adam's heel radiated more glory than the sun. Adam was appointed as a vassal king, entrusted with the responsibility to govern God's creation. The term subdue, rule, and under his feet imply authority over nature, but not over other human beings. The Bible refers to the first woman as Eve, and her creation story is recorded in the book of Genesis. The main lesson we are supposed to take away from this narrative is the fundamental unity and shared origin between man and woman. Unfortunately, Eve was deceived by the serpent and broke the one commandment that was given to her and Adam. The biblical account of Eve ends with the birth of Seth. The third chapter of the book of Genesis in the Bible describes the account of Adam, the first man created by God, and Eve, whom God formed from one of Adam's ribs. They led a pious existence in the Garden of Eden until the serpent, who was craftier than other animals, lured Eve into temptation. The serpent asked if God had commanded them not to eat any tree's fruit in the garden. Eve responded that they could eat fruit from all trees except the one in the center, which they should not touch, or they would die. The serpent contradicted her by saying that they wouldn't die, but would gain knowledge of good and evil and be like God. Wanting to acquire wisdom, Eve ate the fruit and gave some to Adam, leading to both of them realizing they were naked. When God entered the garden, they hid from him, but he discovered they had eaten from the tree and banished them from paradise. God cursed the ground for Adam and proclaimed that he would labor and eat plants from it, bringing forth thorns and thistles. They would eat bread by the sweat of their faces until they returned to dust, for they were formed from dust. After the fall, Adam named his wife Eve, meaning life in Hebrew, as she was the mother of all living and the originator of humanity. Modern-day theology commonly refers to the incident as the fall of man, as he ate the fruit that allowed him to differentiate between good and evil against God's will. Although the Bible doesn't specifically mention an apple, early Christian art portrays the fall of man by a fig. Christianity may have introduced the idea of the fruit being an apple either to recall the apple of paradise or during the translation of the Bible. In Latin, evil is malum and the apple is malus. This could have been a mere translation or a deliberate wordplay. In fact, an apple appeared in one of the earliest representations of the fall of man from the 2nd century CE, found in the catacombs of San Gennaro in Naples. According to Christian doctrine, original sin, also known as ancestral sin, is a result of the fall of man. All humans are born into sin as descendants of Adam. However, the tree of knowledge is also associated with the salvation of humanity. It is considered the cosmic world tree and the path to eternity and the tree of life planted on Calvary. Jesus took the way of the cross to save humanity from sin, and thus he is known as the new Adam. Adam was disobedient because he ate the forbidden fruit, while Jesus was obedient and willingly allowed himself to be nailed to a cross, the tree of Calvary, to atone for Adam's sin. In medieval and modern times, an apple represents overcoming original sin, often depicted in art as a snake with an apple in its mouth, such as in Veit Stoss's English Greeting at the Lorenzkirche in Nuremberg. Depictions of Madonna also often include an apple, as Mary, the new Eve, symbolizes overcoming sin. In Catholicism, the book of Genesis describes the creation days when God wanted to bring the world and all its creations into existence. In just 5 days, God created the sky, the earth, lights, stars, fish, birds, and animals. On the 6th day, God created humans, saying, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over the entire earth, and over every creeping thing that crawls the earth." God created humans in His own image, both male and female. He blessed them and commanded them to be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth, subdue it, and rule over all the creatures that inhabit it. This passage is from Genesis 1:26-28. The Bible presents a second version of the creation of woman, which differs from the first one. According to this version, God created animals and brought them to the man to be named. However, the man did not find a suitable helper among the animals, so God caused the man to sleep and took one of his ribs, from which He created a woman. This version is known as the Fonte Giavista, while the first version is called Fonte Sacerdotale. These two versions are part of the documentary hypothesis, which suggests that the Pentateuch, or the first 5 books of the Bible, were written by 4 different authors whose initials are JEDP, rather than just Moses as traditionally believed. The 2 accounts of the creation of the first man and woman exhibit significant differences. In the first account, God created Adam and Eve simultaneously, both in His own image, and made them rulers of the earthly paradise. On the other hand, in the second account, Adam was created first, and God gave him dominion over the things and animals He had created, and the woman was created later. It is not possible to explore these 2 perspectives in detail here, but the implications for these differing interpretations on the history of the church and humanity, particularly on the relationship between men and women, are apparent. In the Quran, God announced to the angels that He was going to create a new creature on earth. He created Adam from clay and breathed life into him. God also taught Adam the names of everything and then created Eve from the same soul. They were allowed to live in paradise with free will. God then told the angels to bow down to Adam as a form of respect, but Satan, who was among the angels, refused because of his pride and claimed to be superior to Adam because he was created from fire, while Adam was created from clay. This act of defiance demonstrated Satan's arrogance. Satan disobeyed God and was condemned for it. Satan then asked God to grant him respite until the day of judgment, during which he would try to make Adam and his descendants unworthy by arousing vain desires in them. God granted this respite as a trial for humanity. However, Satan has no divine qualities or any share of God's divinity in Islam. He is just a creature who exists only by God's will and is dependent on God for his existence. Additionally, there is no war between Satan and God in Islamic belief, and Satan is considered an enemy of humanity. Despite his negative qualities and being cursed, Satan has a purpose in Islam. God created humans with the ability to choose between right and wrong and to recognize and turn towards the Creator. Humans are naturally good and pure, submitted to Islam. However, Satan and his followers promote evil and oppose good, aiming to lead humans astray and away from monotheism, righteousness, and the path to God. Muslims are encouraged to promote good and forbid evil, as it is through resisting the temptation of Satan that humans can achieve honor and maintain their free will. In paradise, Adam and Eve were given complete freedom and happiness. They were allowed to enjoy the fruits of the garden except for one tree which God warned them not to approach, stating that if they did, they would be wrongdoers. Satan deceived them into believing that God forbade them from eating from the tree because it would make them immortal or like angels. Adam and Eve were misled by Satan and ate from the forbidden tree. After eating from the forbidden tree, Adam and Eve felt ashamed and repented to God, who forgave them. Islam does not believe in the concept of original sin, where all humans are considered sinners because of Adam's actions. Each person is responsible for their own actions, and no one shall bear the burden of another. Both Adam and Eve had free will and disobeyed God by eating from the tree, and Islam does not blame Eve for the sin. Women are not seen as cursed because of Eve's actions, nor are they considered wicked temptresses. God then expelled them from paradise and placed them on earth, where he intended for humans to live all along.